Well, I'm joined now by political presentation consultant Graham Davis. Graham, it was full of doom and gloom, wasn't it, this speech? What were your initial thoughts?
Well, not just doom and gloom. There was hardly any light and shade at all. It was hardly public speaking. It was more like public shouting and public lecturing and finger waving, which is quite difficult to take for an hour and a quarter.
I am your voice.
Yeah, there's that finger again, isn't it? I am your voice. What did you make of that?
Well, of course, you say, I am with you, I am your voice, I am the only person who can offer a solution. It was all focused towards him. It was very much the ego has landed.
Yeah, and there's that rule of threes that we all know about, isn't it, when we're giving speeches? Ignored, neglected, abandoned, pause for applause.
His favourite rule of three during that speech was believe me, believe me, believe me. But of course, when he does it all the time, if you repeat a phrase too often, you actually devalue it with each repetition. And sometimes he really should stick to what's on the autocue instead of trying to ad-lib something new on the hoof.
Yeah. Do you think he turned it round? Because we had the plagiarism issue at the convention, we had the booze cruise, didn't we? Do you think he managed to turn things round?
Well, there was no hint of plagiarism in this speech. This was very much Donald Trump in your face all the time. There was no conviction gap at all between what he really thinks and what he said. You can't doubt his sincerity, you can doubt his stability.
You could argue that one of the highlights of his speech wasn't even him, but it was his daughter.
There is someone who performs extremely well. She was so focused, poised and controlled. There were times during her speech that I wondered whether the wrong Trump was running for president.
I mean, Graham Davis, it sounds like, to come out on top, that the winners got to not be themselves.
Almost. I'm not sure whether to expect total horror or total comedy. It's going to be halfway between Stephen King and Spinal Tap. I think we'll see a classic confrontation between the prepared and the unprepared, with Clinton using a classic college debating technique of evidence followed by opinion, but with a third ingredient, especially for Trump, a hint of provocation as well, to try and get under his collar. And the three techniques that Trump will be using will be shouting, more shouting, and louder shouting.
This looks a tiny bit awkward, that handshake.
That looked as if he was almost trying to grab her to do a courtly kiss, but changed his mind, fortunately, at the last second.
The Prime Minister and President returned to private talks. What to make then of their time in front of the cameras?
They actually smiled at each other. They interacted with each other with a sense of humour, and we actually got the impression that the two most powerful leaders in the Western world might actually be getting on to do something positive together.